unexpected, the uncalled for, the unintentional.
You can break physically, you can break mentally, you can break your heart, you can break your spirit, and all of those are going to leave a mark. But the mark that they leave can be the mark of victory or can be the mark of defeat.
It is staying with the breaking that produces the blessing. It is not what you go through that determines where you end up.
But there's also opportunity. The fight is just beginning. You have the opportunity to show the world.
Nothing can stop you. The only thing that can stop you is you.
There is within you a spirit that is greater than whatever is going on around you.
There it is! 70 pounds, 8 ounces, new PB. What a fish! Absolutely blown away. Oh my god. Oh, what a fish. I am absolutely just a bit. Look at it. Absolutely mega. So hello and welcome back to another video, and more importantly welcome back to Holme Fen fishery. This is the second time I've visited this lake, and boy oh boy am I feeling lucky today, let me tell you. First out the draw, got my first choice of swim. What is your luck? It's certainly, if anything, like the starting's anything to go by, I think we're in for a really good session. I've chosen a dugout swim. Didn't see much on the walk round, I'll be totally honest. I did see a couple of signs in one of the bays, which is just over the other side of the camera there. I don't actually know what that bay's called, but I did see a little bit of activity there. However, I've just been leading out in the swim and I've just seen one stick its head out right over where I've decided to fish as well. So how's your luck there? So they say your luck comes in threes, and they also say bad luck comes in threes. So hopefully the third bit of good luck will be one of these big fat carp that live in here. But anyway, I don't want to waffle on too long. That's the introduction to the video. This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm at. I'm feeling very, very positive, and it's really good to be out. And on that note, I'm going to get the rods out. I've already found the spots. I'll talk a bit about the tactics, the bait I'm going to deploy, the rigs, etc, 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 as we get into the video. But I think it's worth mentioning that the lake has been shut for a couple of weeks, and we are the first booking on since the fish have spawned, so they should be up for a munch. I really do hope so. Fingers crossed. So that is it then, the rods are out there and I am feeling rather pleased with myself. Although not everything has gone according to plan, I'll be totally honest, you know, it's a fair old chuck out there. 100 yards I'm fishing at, 25 wraps, well it's just short of 25 wraps anyway, that's to hit the island out there. I did have a little bit of an investigation over to the left, but the further left I went round the island it was a lot more silty and a lot more weedy, but it's rather clear out towards the centre of the island, fishing at 24.5 wraps. I will pan round and show you the spots in a bit more detail, but I'm just sort of relaying across what I've done at the moment. So I've got two in that area there. One's a bit further off to the right where it starts to become a bit more choddy and weedier. I'm fishing hinge rigs on all three rods, although slightly different in the lengths that I've got them popped up. On the spot where it's clearer out in the middle of the island, I've gone right down to just an inch that's popped up. And then over to the right of the island where it gets a bit softer, and you're fishing in that little bit of silt, you know, it's like on the verge of where it changes. I've actually gone up to 1.5 inches there just to make sure that I am presented, and also as well with the tungsten sinkers that I've got on there, different sizes as well, just to sort of control, you know, the speed in which the pop-up lays on. But with banging it out there with the mono that I've got on, I'm fishing 20-pound mono straight through. You know, you have got to use 0.40 as part of the rules here, but to be honest, if you used anything less than that you'd just be asking for trouble. There's a lot of Canadian between me and the spots that I'm fishing. There's also gravel bars that runs across. I've got my right hand rod in a gully, you know, and in that Canadian weed, as I was leading about, there's all sorts in there, including zebra mussels, so you really have got to fish strong for the fish that's in here. And not only that, you're fishing for some rather large fish. Anyway, as I mentioned, yes, the right hand rod, I've gone different with the right hand rod. I've actually put that out towards the dot island. I'm actually using the beaches, which is the swim straight opposite me. I'm using that as my marker, and that is also fished at the same distance. It puts me right in the centre of the gully, and that's fishing in around about 16 foot of water. I've not actually got the marker float out and sort of, you know, paid it out just to see what the depths are, but that's just from past experience. As I run across with a boat last time I was here, I've got a pretty good understanding of where the gullies start and finish and where they run across, but there's a lot more water on than there was last time I was here. Last time you could walk out on the gravel bars and things in front of the 4 strong winds anyway. So yes, you can't see them bars at the moment, so there's a good couple more foot of water in, but I'm estimating that gully to be around about 16 foot deep, and up towards the island where I'm fishing it's around about 6 to 8 foot deep there. That's just through feeling the lead down, just sort of making assumptions. There is a lot of bird life on here at the moment, and they are giving me a bit of a trouble. Already after putting the rods out, the rods was only in 10 minutes and one picked me up almost straight away, which I was quite surprised about, because I've gone out there with a good hit of bait. It's taken me quite a long time to get the bait out, a good couple of hours worth of spomming. One reason is because I had to use the medium spom instead of the large spom, just for ease of getting it out there. Really, it was just a lot easier to use that rather than, you know, straining. I'm not a big caster, I've said that many a times before, but with the large spom and it loaded up like that, you know, it just becomes a bit of hard work when you do it like that. I'd much rather, you know, make a few more extra casts and just have it a bit easier on myself. I've gone out there with a bit of a banquet approach, really. I mean, a couple of hours worth of baiting up, you might be thinking, bloody hell, he must have absolutely filled it in. I haven't. I've probably caught about 5.5 kilos out in total over the 3 rods. But it's a whole different, you know, whole different buffet effect that I've put out there. Last time I was here, you know, I was using particle and boilie, and all my bites that I did have on the last trip, I say all my bites, I only had 2 bites, but the bites that I did have come to yellow, and there was both on the pineapple and banana I was using back then. So I've actually gone out with the instant attract pineapple as hook baits. And the bait that I've put out there is the Scopex squid, and lots of different particles. I've got peas in there, I've got groats in there, yellow peas. There's absolutely all sorts of bits and bobs in the mix. I've added some maize into it, some extra sweet corn, lots of food syrup, and a good helping of Himalayan rock salt. And then the other thing what I've also put out there is I'm playing about with a few different liquids at the moment, and one way of getting the liquid down to the bottom, especially on the deeper spot as well, is I'm using ground bait. I'm actually making a really thick, stodgy ground bait, but that's really, it's not putting the ground bait out there for the attraction. It's more to do with the liquid that I'm putting in the ground bait itself. I mean, it's not an oil-based liquid. It's actually something you can buy in the supermarket. I'm not going to say what it is yet because I'm still playing around with it, and I'm still not 100% that I've got it right, let's put it that way. But certainly from the bits that I have been playing about with it, it has done some good, let's put it that way. That's all I want to say at the moment. I don't want to let the cat out the bag, you know. It might become an edge. At the moment it's not an edge or anything like that. It's just something that I'm playing around with, just trying to find that little bit of something that gives you a bit of an edge. I mean, other than that, you know, I mean, I've got a lot of confidence in the Scopex squid syrup. It is really good, that, but you know, when you're coating your boilies and putting it in your spod mix and you're fishing, especially on the deep water spot, a lot of that doesn't even get down to the bottom. You know, and I quite like the idea of the ground bait balls and making them, you know, really hard, compact balls, basically just big enough to fit in the spawn. So you plop it out there and it just badonk and just sits on the bottom. And my idea is now I've actually got the bait out there, when I top up at, you know, them key times and things like that, I'm just gonna like bang the odd ground bait ball out there, just pump the attraction in. And the other reason for putting a lot of particle out there is the bird life, you know. It doesn't take long for them to clear up a kilo of boilies, let's put it that way. They'll keep going until all them boilies are gone, but at least, you know, you still got something out there. I'm not gonna, you know, sort of bait up now until something sort of happened, or I see something that, you know, that warrants putting a little bit of extra bait out there. But if anything, like I mentioned, just, you know, a few of them ground bait balls, just to keep the scent in the area. But if anything, I want to keep the disturbance to a minimum. I mean, these fish are not going to know what's hit them, really, if it's not been fished for a couple of weeks and then we've all turned up together and we're all casting on this trip. You are allowed to use bait boats on here, but it's very dependent on the party in which you come with. If the whole party agrees to using boats, then you can do, but this party that I'm here with, we're all casting. So, you know, it makes it fair game for everybody then. I mean, I'm not bothered, like, it is a comfortable distance that I'm fishing at. It's just with the thick mono that I'm using. I've got the same liners that I had last time I come. I'm fishing with the Catran wild carp. It's a 20-pound breaking strain. It's a really good line, that. In fact, it's the line I've been using all last year on Rosemere. It's a very good line. It's very abrasion resistant, and it stood me well at Rosemere with the weedy water, and it also stood me well last time I was here because one of the fish which I had a battle with, it went over one of the gravel bars, and at the time it was only like a foot of water on top of the gravel bar, and when it, you know, I could feel it grating on the top of the gravel bar and things like that. And after landing the fish, you know, there was like nicks and shreds on the line. I was thinking to myself, thank God I had that line on. So yes, that's enough of that. Yeah, as I mentioned, hinge stiff rigs. I will show you a little bit more in detail, but, you know, hopefully I start to pick up a couple of fish or the odd bite. I know it's not going to be clubbing or anything like that. I've got 4 nights to play with. I'd be quite happy with a couple of bites, let's put it that way. and in particular one of them big uns. But yes, I'll go into the rigs in a little bit more detail. I'll also, you know, sort of show you the spots and things like that, so if you are coming, you know, it gives you a little bit of a reference, so you know what you're looking for when you get here, sort of thing. That's what I'm trying to say. So yes, wish me luck. I'm going to sit back now and enjoy this evening. Keep my eyes peeled. I've not seen a fish show since obviously making all that commotion, but my commotion's all done now. We've just gone 3:30, so you know, we're sort of coming up to that key window. Last time I was here, the bites were sort of like anywhere from like tea time through till about sort of 10-11 o'clock at night, just on dusk, and then it started again at first light. First light seemed to be the better time of out of the two. Certainly in this swim that I'm in. I mean, last time I spent my time fishing on the opposite side of this island, and the guy that was in this swim, it sort of did a bite for him every morning, and it was sort of early hours, just as it was coming like sort of 3:30, between 3:30 and 4:30 in the morning. So I am feeling very, very hopeful. But not only that, I'm feeling rather confident with what I've done, you know, because I'm coming with a bit of knowledge from last time. Obviously I've seen a fish in the area. It is a good swim, this, and I feel like the approach which I've taken is the right approach. I just hope that the bird life doesn't cause me too much hassle, because that could put a dampener on it. So yes, that's where we're up to. It's all to play for. Come on, the big un. That is what I am saying. I don't mean the big un, but just one big un would be lovely for this trip. Anything over £40 would do me, but you know, really one of them 50-pounders would be, yes, that would be the icing on the cake, so to speak of. So yes, I'm going to leave it there. I'm signing off for now. I should give you a bit of an update later on, or unless something carpy happens before then. Well, good evening, and that is my view from the bivvy. And since I last spoke to you, a little bit has changed. The main thing to report is we had a really good downpour. You may notice it looks really moody out there at the moment. It's actually just gone past 9 o'clock now. I've just enjoyed a lovely sunset, the sun going down past the trees. Got a really good time lapse of that. But I tell you something, it really does feel right for it. It does. It feels like something special's going to come out for somebody. I think the only thing is just sort of waiting for them to sort of switch on, because I'm not seeing any activity as such. I've seen the odd subtle show out in front of Party Point. I've seen 2 fish show out in front of there now. But very, very subtle. Very hard to tell if it definitely was a carp or not. But the only one positive that I have seen is right out at the side of the dot island out that's in front of me. But yeah, usually going into darkness and early morning, they do show themselves quite well in here, or they certainly did last time I was here. And the chap next door to me as well, you know, that's a similar sort of thing that he said to me, and he's been here once before as well. But yeah, it feels really good. I'm feeling really positive. All the hard work's done. Just need the fish to turn up and have a bit of a munch now. But to be honest, I do think I'm in the right place already. You know, we've seen the odd fish throughout the day. I do think I'm in the right place. I think I'm just waiting for that key window of opportunity. The only thing that's really putting a spoiler on it at the moment is the tufties. They are absolute nightmare. They are just obliterating all over out there. Twice they've picked me up today. First time they picked me up not long after the rods had been out, and then about an hour ago one of them picked me up, but it was only a little doo-doo, you know, and dropped it again, and then seen the coop pop up over the spot. But you know, with fishing the hinge stiff rig, at least I am feeling confident that it'll reset itself, so I've not really got to worry about that too much. I mean, the material that I'm using, the skin link, it's the semi-stiff, so it does reset itself. So yeah, I've had a few cups of teas, copious amounts of teas. I've been sitting and watching the water quite a lot. I mean, when that rain really hit, you know, I thought the fish had turned on a little bit. But as of yet, I'm yet to see anything happen. And as far as I'm aware at the moment, nobody has had a fish yet. I mean, it's very hard to keep in touch with everybody, but between me and the guy next door, we can sort of see everybody. The only person we can't see is the chap. Oh, did you see that? Oh, yes. What a fish. I mean, that is well short of where I'm fishing. That's sort of 60 yards out. But that's a real positive sign. Proper show that as well. And what I was saying is the only person we can't really tell that's fishing is the guy that's fishing down in Jake's. We're totally out of touch, we can't see down there. But the guy that's fishing in 4 strong winds, and to the left of me as well in, I think it's Last Resort, that bay that's called. Yeah, we've sort of got good eyes on the lake. And I shall keep you updated and report back to whatever I get to find out, really. But I do feel like I'm in pole position here, I really do. Yeah, I'll be very, very disappointed if it gets to sort of around 11 o'clock tomorrow and nothing has happened. I feel like my best opportunity of a bite is sort of between 3:30 in the morning and 10 o'clock. I think that's a really good key window for this area of the lake, and that's just going off of, you know, what happened last time I was here. And it is the same time of year, you know, same booking really. The guys that are here, it's all the guys that fish Fenland fisheries, and it's Mike that organises this booking for the chaps that fishes there really. And that's the reason why I am sitting here really, through going and fishing Fenlands on Willett and Vermoiden. Yeah, Mike looks after his good customers, his regulars so to speak of, and a couple of his friends. When we leave on Friday morning, the people that will be turning up will be doing the weekend, and that's also part of this week's booking. He splits it up into 2, so everybody gets a bite at the cherry so to speak of. But yeah, I was really fortunate to get on for the 4 days. I feel quite fortunate about that. But it's not my only visit this year. I have got another visit in October. I've got a lake exclusive, which I've organised. And I've also organised one for next year for the same time as well. It is a reoccurring booking, that. Yeah, and I don't see me giving up that anytime soon. It's just a great feeling to be sitting here knowing that all them chunks are out there ready to be caught. You just never know. When that rod rips off, oh, my heart is in my mouth. Last time I was here, both them bites that I had, it was just electric, absolutely electric. And it's that feeling what really does it for me. You know, being sit on the water where potentially the next fish you could catch could be a PB or something very special. And that's the reason why I fish the waters that I do. That's the reason why I'm fishing Rosemere. That's the reason why I'll be fishing Grenville next year. You know, it takes a lot of bad press, this place, but I really don't care. I really don't. You know, carp fishing has changed whether we like it or not. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I totally respect the people that, you know, go chasing these true English carp, so to speak of, in these nice estate lakes and the rivers and things like that, but, you know, they're very few and far between now, and this is modern day carp fishing as far as I'm concerned anyway. This is what does it for me. And I can't really see that ever changing. It's just like, for me, I'm always moving on to that next target, so to speak of. Where can I go for that next PB? And at the moment, I'm chasing a 50-pounder. That is my next target. Yeah, and hopefully this year it's going to be my year, and we're going to get one. I'm not greedy, just one will do me, and then we move on to the next one. But anyway, I am waffling on. That is my synopsis of what's going on out there. But yeah, very happy to be sitting here. And hopefully, the next time you see me, it'll be with one of these big fat Carpus interruptus. It's goodbye for now. Well, good morning. And not much positive to report on, I'm afraid. It has been very, very slow going, and a long old night, let me tell you. I didn't sleep awfully well. I think a lot of that has to do with the anticipation of getting that first bite. And the bird life had just been horrendous, and I've had a right fiasco this morning. Coots picking me up on both the island rods. I had to redo them on that key time this morning, which I really didn't want to do. And then I just got them back out there, and then a big raft of weed come across and wiped them out again. So I had to redo them again. Yeah, and I just feel like I've blown my chances this morning. But saying that, there hasn't been a fish out for the whole group. It is fishing rather slow. You know, I thought it'd be a lot better than this. And, you know, for seeing fish, there's not been a lot seen. If anything, the fish are well spread, because people are, you know, dotted around the back of the islands, beaches, you know, Harry's, Sunset, Party Point. There's been the odd fish showing here, there and everywhere, so they are well spread. But it's enough to keep everybody's confidence up, you know. But out at the island this morning, I haven't really seen anything out there. The fish that I've seen in front of me this morning have all been short, so I think I'm definitely going to have to drop one of these rods short. I'm still going to keep that rod in the gully, and I've got to keep one on that island. It's a bit of a banker spot in here, that, if you ask me, just because at some point you just know that some fish are going to be patrolling that margin over there, and I'm just going to have to put up with the bird life picking me up. Yes, it does reset, but when it moves the lead, you know, I don't like to just leave it. If the bobbin comes back and it rests in the same place, then I'm not too fussed about it. But when they're moving the lead and that, I don't know, it drives me insane if I don't redo it. So that's where we're at. Definitely find something closer in, round about 50 yards or so, and I do believe there's a good depth of water there. But one of the fish I seen come out, it was a right lump, a proper lump. I just can't ignore that. I've got to get on it. So that is what I'm gonna do anyway. I've sort of sat that key period out. If anything, I was kind of hoping one of the rods would rip off and then, you know, something positive to report back on, but no. Struggling, if I'm honest. Definitely struggling, and we're scratching. I knew it was going to be like this anyway, because it always is like this here. Unless the fish are grouped up in one area and you're on them, it generally is a very hard water to fish, this. But yeah, still positive. The rods are out there. I'm still confident something's going to happen. I'm just a little bit frustrated by what's happened this morning. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, and we shall have a catch up very soon.
Yes!
Well, it's only gone and happened, hasn't it? A bite off the island. Well, we're just approaching tea time now, and I thought it was a good idea to get everything sorted out ready for the night ahead. So I was quite surprised to get a bite so quickly after putting some bait out, but I'm very pleased I did because it's just gone £40.12. Not quite the big one we're after, but it's a notch the right way. And not only that, it's not the only bite I've had. I had a little tench earlier. Take a little look at this now. Well, I hope he's going to behave himself, because he went ballistic a minute ago. And there he is, look. Check him out. Yes! Bloody hell, I'm having a shower. And there we go. Absolute mental, this one. Will not calm down at all. Splashing the lens. Taking on the pineapple hinge stiff rig. He's going again. And there's the other side. Right, let's slip him back and on to the next one. Mwah! Come on, the puppy. it's hanging deep. Where is it? Yes. Yes. Well, folks, have I got something really special to show you. I am absolutely breathtaking. I really am. This is the kind of thing that you dream of. Never in a million years did I think I'd be standing here now and showing you Marshall's, the biggest fish in the lake. He's a bit down in weight after spawning. It's gone 70 pound and 8 ounces. I am absolutely blown away. I just can't believe it. I was just cooking my tea, minding my own business. There's a nice slow take. And I tell you something, the fight was just unbelievable. It found every single weed bed going on the way in. Oh, the shoulders, it's massive. I don't even know I'm going to pick it up. And there it is. 70 pound, 8 ounces, new PB. What a fish. Absolutely blown away. Oh my God. Oh, what a fish. Oh, yes, I am absolutely chuffed to bits. Oh, so look at it. Absolutely mega. That is it, folks. I'm going to get this fish back. Mental. What a fish. That's what dreams are made of. Hey! Fucking hell. Well, good morning, and where do I begin to start this morning? Absolutely blown away. I really am. The phone calls, you know, the support that people have been showing me has just been exceptional, absolutely exceptional. I honestly, you spend years of your life, well I certainly have anyway, years of your life dreaming of such a fish, but then to catch it in the UK, it's just, well, it's beyond belief. I am lost for words. Needless to say, I've not slept much. And you know, I've had a lot of phone calls, and I didn't put it on Facebook last night. I put it on this morning. I haven't put the picture on, just basically a bit of information, just to let the cat out the bag sort of thing. But on the fishing front, you know, after catching that fish, I mean, I'm sorry I didn't give you an update last night. Emotions was just too high for me. It really was. I'm even struggling now, but let's touch on the actual fishing. After obviously putting the fish back, I got the rod back out there, and then we only had sort of half an hour or so of light left, so I commenced putting a little bit more bait out there, and the conditions totally changed last night. The wind totally dropped off, and it was like a sheet of glass out there, and it was a really quiet night, not only on the fish front, but even the bird life, even they just like went all switched off and went quiet. If anything, it was quite nice to just sit back and, you know, look out over the lake when it was all nice and peaceful like that. Yeah, memories made. But getting up this morning, the wind's picked up now. It's going to remain overcast for most of today, a bit of sunshine this afternoon, so you know, I think there's still a chance of another bite on the cards. I need to start working the spot, you know. I put a bit of bait out last night, not a lot. I put out about 8 medium spoms, but I'm gonna, you know, sort of top up after every bite and just work it like that. Obviously I started off with that good hit of bait, and I think that served me well, I really do, but I think, you know, sort of topping up as and when sort of thing, because the fish are definitely well spread. There has been a couple of other fish out as well since I last spoke to you. I don't know if I mentioned this, but Clive next door, who helped me with the fish and that, he also had a PB for himself yesterday. I can't remember if I told you this, but he had a 41 pound 8 or 10, I think it was, personal best for him. I did the pictures for him and that. And he also lost a fish in the morning, so you know, he's had 2 bites, I've had a couple of bites, and then there's been one other fish out over in 4 strong winds, a 30 pounder this morning, but that is it for the group. However, things is changing today. There's a few guys going and a few guys coming on, because they've sort of split the booking between them, so I do think there's going to be a few more fish to report. But certainly after speaking to the couple of guys that's just left and the guys that are coming on and that, they've been talking to the other anglers, it is hard going, and the fish are well spread. Everybody is seeing the odd fish in front of him, so you know, it's a positive that at least nobody feels like the camping sort of thing. They all feel like that opportunity is there. But anyway, I'm gonna enjoy this cup of tea, get some bait back out there, and then hopefully something else will happen. Will I ever top that in my lifetime? I don't think so, but I am going to cherish this and hold on to this memory for a long time. I mean, there's been all sorts of conversations that I've had, some people saying go for the British record, and I just feel like it's not an option. Even though, you know, it is a mega achievement, and yes, it is a record fish if it was to be claimed, but other people have had the same fish. There's been 4 people, I believe, that's had it over 70 pound, and none of them have actually gone to claim the record. Now, if I'd have caught that fish and it was like bigger than all them captures that they'd had, maybe I might have considered it, but with the stigma around Holme Fen and the, you know, how can I put it, you know, the bad press that the people have had after catching the fish, I just don't feel like it's an option. But the main thing is because Wayne Mansford had it at, I think it was around the 75 pound mark when he had it, and if I was to go and claim it and it was 70 pound and 8 ounce, I feel like I'd be taking the glory away from him, and it's not really my glory to take, do you know what I mean? But anyway, that's enough of that. I don't want to make it into one of them things. It is still one hell of a fish. I am absolutely made up, and you know, just that image of looking down at it in the net. Me and Mike were both stood there peering down at it, and what a fish. I've just never seen anything so big in my life. It was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Anyway, I am waffling on. Let's get them rods sorted and see if we can still catch that 50 pounder that I come for. That would be the cherry on the cake for me. It really would. And I'm gonna keep the foot on the gas and see if I can winkle a couple more bites out. I think the fish are still out there to be had. They have been showing out in the open water this morning, but I do think with the forecast that we've got and the weather that is due to come in, I think they'll end up in front of this island at some point. So I'll certainly be covering some fish. So yes, cheers, thank you very much, and see you very soon. Well, good afternoon, and would you look at that out there at the moment? It does look good for a bite, I must say. Condition wise, it's expected. The sun's poked its head out this afternoon. Still a bit of cloud cover, so it is intermittent, but I think the main thing worth pointing out is we've had a decent wind on most of the day. It is a bit of a crosswind that's been coming across me, and it has made things difficult today, getting them rods out there. I mean, if anything, the bloody coots more than anything. They've just made my life a misery, they really have. They've picked me up 5 or 6 times today. In fact, one's not long picked me up on the long rod, but I'm sort of sitting here thinking, oh, I don't want to make a disturbance now, because we are approaching that time where the magic happened yesterday, where I got that first bite, let's put it that way. It was sort of around about 5:30-ish when I had the first bite, and then I topped up with a little bit of bait, and then the other bite come around about 9 o'clock at night. So yeah, it was a bit of a crammed in mad rush yesterday afternoon, but I've been sitting here with my eyes on the water, just haven't stopped watching all day. I have kept myself busy, just because I'm rather tired more than anything, sort of fighting the sleep. So I've kept myself busy, bit of bait prep and that, and I have put a bit of bait out again today, sort of little and often basis. I think if you absolutely pile it in one go, the coots just absolutely annihilate you. So I've been sort of putting it in, feeding to the bites or whatever you want to call it, little and often, just to try and minimise the coot activity more than anything. But I think one thing worth pointing out as well, yesterday I'd seen a few more fish show around this time. I'd sort of seen a couple to the left of the island, and then one to the right, and then one not far away from where I was fishing, and that was sort of like an hour or so before I got the first bite. So I am sitting here hoping that starts to materialise. But I have just seen a really good fish show towards the dot island, which is out towards the right. That's the dot island there. I'm fishing up against this bit here in this alcove bit. I'm sort of half a rod length off the island basically, where all the tufties are just there as we speak. But yeah, I've seen a fish show there. So that's a positive to take into it. But yesterday I sort of seen a couple between that island there and that island there. It's basically like a sunken island, and there's a shallow bar basically, well, a bar, sunken island, whatever you want to call it, and it's only like 2 or 3 foot on top of that, so you often see the odd fish coming over the top of that when they're moving about. Certainly that's the way it seemed yesterday. But I haven't seen anything move on that side today. And I've got nothing to report on the close-in rods. I'm a little bit disappointed, really. I mean, yes, I picked that tench up from in that silty area yesterday, but I really fancied that to do a bite. I really did. Really did. But with the change round today, I didn't realise it was changing as much as what it was today, with 2 people going and then another 3 people coming. It has sort of made the fish move around a little bit, but not only that, there was one guy that I spoke to, and he was telling me, how regular he fishes it and how well he knows the swims and that, and he gave me a tip off actually of a spot that to my left hand side. If nobody's in the swim, what's it called now, Last Resort, if nobody's in Last Resort, it's basically the whole bay to my left. You can put a rod down there, and he's telling me it's a nice silty area, bloodworm bed, and I got the leading rod out earlier just to see if I could locate that spot, and sure enough found it almost straight away. It's very blatant, but the thing that I like about that spot, more so than just because it's a silty bloodworm spot, it's the depth of water. Because as it stands, I just can't get a bite out of the deep water. And I think that's a lot of the problem with a lot of the guys that are fishing, you know. They've got a lot of deep water out in front of them with not so many shallow spots. I mean, yes, there's gravel bars and things like that, and there's raised areas. But certainly from the way I'm looking at it, it's like my bites have come in around about 6 to 8 foot of water. And then Clive next door, you know, is open water rods that haven't done anything. But it's his close in rod that's fishing in 7, 8 foot of water again that's done him the bites. So I just can't ignore that really. So I think I'm going to end up placing a rod on that left hand spot for tonight. Not going to go bonkers, just going to get the catapult out, fire a few baits over there. I've already got it wrapped up, it's 9.5 wraps. To get to it though, I've got to put the waders on and get in the water and cast, because I just can't get past this tree to the left hand side of me. So yes, that's the plan of attack. Sitting here very, very anxiously waiting to see something on that island. But not only that, because that coot's picked me up as well, I think if nothing else sort of happens within the next hour, I'm just going to recast that rod just for my peace of mind. I mean, I have mentioned, yes, I'm using the hinge rigs and it's a semi-stiff material and it does reset itself. But with the amount of weed that's out there, yes, it is fairly clear around there, but you know, you just never know, do you? And it honestly, it makes me paranoid sitting here after something's picked you up and they're not redoing it. And from what I'm seeing, I don't think the fish are put off by the splash. It certainly wasn't put off yesterday. I couldn't believe how quick, you know, that the bite come at 9 o'clock after baiting up. I had the fish, put the rod back out there, and then I put about 10 medium spoms out. And then it was literally an hour and a half later and the rod was away again, which really surprised me, that did. But then again, with the amount of bird activity that's on here, you know, they're going to be used to bloody flapping and splashing about all the time. And another thing as well, which is worth highlighting, is the coots was diving on me when I got the bite, you know. So they're quite happy feeding alongside one another as well. They certainly don't spook off. I mean, if anything, it's usually the coots that spook away from the carp. Usually you see them come flying up and scarpering off and you're like, hey up. But no, I've not seen none of that. Apart from like when you see the odd fish show, it kind of feels like it's a bite out the blue. So yes, sitting here very patiently now. I shall keep you updated. Hopefully we're going to be interrupted again this afternoon. Just one more bite. I'm not greedy. But, you know, if anything, I'm happy. I am happy. It's just great to be sitting here now. I feel on cloud 9. I really do. I'm just enjoying life. Don't want it to end. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Don't want the feeling to end. Really am enjoying it. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, and hopefully very soon we'll have another bite. Well, good evening, and it is mixed emotions tonight, let me tell you. Not long after I spoke to you, in fact it was only about 20 minutes to half an hour or so, the rod was away, the island rod. Literally 30 seconds I had the fish on for, and boom, it was off. Reeled it in, on inspection, everything looked completely fine, hook was alright. So you know, I just sort of licked my wounds and got the rod back out there. Put some more bait back out there. And I have also sorted this left hand rod to sit down this margin in that silty bloodworm area. So anyways, I was sort of sitting here thinking I could still have another chance, especially after yesterday. And then literally 10 minutes ago, bite on the same rod, exactly the same thing. About 30 seconds of having the fish on, bump, fish off. I tell you, absolute complete madness. Nothing wrong with the rig. You know, I've landed them first 2 fish on it, landed the big one on it, everything completely fine. And then the next 2 bites, lose both of them. I just can't fathom it out. So, it's back to the drawing board, I'm afraid. I think that is my chance blown for this evening. Oh, absolutely wounded. From hero to zero, that is what I'm saying. The kettle's boiled. Let's have a good old cup of Yorkshire, that'll cheer me up. But on the plus side, I have just had a Chinese with the chaps next to me, Ian and Clive. Yeah, we sat there and had a chow mein and a few spare ribs and that. So it has been alright from the social point of it, and it's a beautiful sunset at the moment. But I don't like losing fish, and I especially don't like losing fish in here. Not good, not good. I'm not expecting anything to happen through the night. The nights have been really quiet for the whole group. If I'm being totally honest, I'm not really expecting anything to happen now until tomorrow afternoon. I think I might have a couple of chances left in it if I'm lucky, but definitely at least one chance. I think I've totally blown my chance tonight. The only thing I can do is tweak the rigs a little bit. But, you know, there was exactly the same. The only thing that I can do to sort of better of them is just make sure I'm putting a fresh hook on every single time I put it out there. That is about the only thing I can think of. There's nothing wrong with them rigs, but the one thing I will say is very twitchy takes. No ripping takes or anything like that. It's just little twitchy take and bobbing up to the rod. But that's one thing I will mention. The lead hadn't discharged on both of them bites. But to be honest, it hadn't discharged on the first fish that I caught, and that went ballistic, to be fair. But the big one dropped the lead, but them two didn't. My only assumption is just, I mean, I'm having to put the tail rubber on a little bit tighter than usual just because of the distance, chucking it out. If I chuck it out there and hit the clip at distance, you know, it's going to discharge the lead. So, but what I've done for this evening anyway, after putting the rod back out, is I've just gone up a lead size. I've switched from the 4-ounce square lead over to a 5-ounce square lead. Hopefully that's enough to drive that hook home and drop the lead. We shall see. But I am in the process of making a few fresh rigs up. I need to make a few fresh rigs. I've lost confidence in them two that I've lost the fish on. They're going in bloody bin, let me tell you. So yes, fresh rigs, up the lead size to a 5-ounce. Now I can get away with it, now the crosswind's died off. And go from there really. Not expecting anything tonight, so the next time I check in with you will be the morning, no doubt. So yes, wish me luck. Fingers crossed. Just one more fish before I go home. That would be lovely. Well, good morning, and what a glorious morning it is too. This is how all mornings should start, if you ask me. And it's a bite that actually bloody stayed on. Very, very finicky bite it was. To be honest, the bite was that slow. I thought I'd picked up a weed bed. It just really started ticking off really, really slow, and I thought, that's a bit odd. And then it dropped back, and I thought, hey up, that's a fish on. So yes, we've got a 40-pounder in the retainer, and the little rig tweak worked. I dropped down a size of hook, one so it was a finer gauge, and it's a lot sharper, it goes in much better. And then I stayed with the bigger lead size, the 5-ounce lead, and it worked with this one. Lovely looking fish this. Might be a bit lively because I got the rod sorted before I did the pictures. But he is a lovely fish. Are you going to behave? Oh, I'm sorry about the light in the background, needs must. But you get the picture. Epic, epic looking fish that is. Totally different to a lot of them that are in here. Just banged out a load more bait as well. This one was crapping it in the retainer. So they're obviously liking the Scopex. I've got no particle left now. All I've got left is boilies, but boilies will have to do. We'll keep banging it out there. Oh, this side's even better. And there we go, look. Mega, absolutely mega. Just check him out. Yeah. It's hard work in the water with the mat drifting away and everything else. One last time. There we go. Thank you, Holme Fen. Oh, mwah. I shall speak to you in a little bit. Well, it's been about an hour and a half since that fish now. Oh, and I'm sitting here feeling rather confident, I'll be totally honest. Not only for what's happened, but more to do with the conditions. There's a nice good wind coming across now, and I have seen the odd fish jump out. It's looking very, very promising for another bite. And hopefully, you know, we've cracked it now with that bigger lead size and dropping down a size of hook. I've gone from a size 5 down to a size 6 in the chod claws. They're a finer gauge hook them, and they are needle sharp, they really are. But I tell you something, that take this morning, I can't stop thinking about that. Ever so strange, ever so strange. It's like it was just sat there on the spot, not doing anything. Like it's just picked it up and hooked itself and sat there sort of thing. Very peculiar. But again, you know, all the bites have been finicky. I've not had any rippers at all. They've all been really finicky bites. Oh, and I tell you what, the rod went back out there lovely. First cast as well, straight back in that hole on that island. Oh, yeah, couldn't have asked for a better cast. And then the bait went out nice as well. Nothing dropped short. They all went in, oh, perfectly. Put about 12 spoms out, and then about 4 balls of ground bait. So, you know, pumping that attraction in. The tufties are starting to move in as we speak. But so far they've left me alone. They haven't actually picked up the hook bait. But yeah, it looks prime for it, certainly for this afternoon anyway, you know, given the past couple of days. But I'm very quietly confident on that rod that's down to the left hand side in this bay, especially with the wind picking up and pushing into there. And that silkworm bed, oh, I mean silkworm, bloodworm bed, you know, it just screams of fish, it really does. And it's the perfect depth. When I look at, you know, around the lake of what bites have been had, it's all the shallow water. Not picked up anything on my right hand rod, you know, fishing in that deep water, and yet I've persevered with it. And if anything, you know, where I've seen the fish showing this morning out towards that dot island, it's deep water where they've been showing, and it's the gully that I fished on the first night. I'm half tempted just to put it back in there for the last night, because it's not doing anything where it is. I mean, I've not gone mad on the bait over that rod, purely down for that reason, you know. I'm sort of half-hearted into it. But certainly that island rod, that has been the one. But if I could pick up a bite from this left-hand margin, that'd be wicked. It really would. But yeah, I've put the rest of my particle out that I had. Used all of that now. It's good gear, that. You know, I mentioned I've got like maples in there, yellow peas, maize, lots of hemp, groats, a whole mixture of stuff in there, topped off with the food syrup, you know, the Scopex syrup. It's good stuff, that. It's a real sticky stuff. It does pump out a lot of attraction, that. Yeah, and then, you know, good helping of boilies, but I've been sort of like doing it up in little batches. I've had my particles separate and my boilie separate, and then sort of mixing it in batches, and then sort of stodging it up with a couple of handfuls of the Scopex pellet. But I ain't got any pellet left neither. But Ian, my mate, he's just given me a couple of kilos of maize. It's from Carbon, that maize. It's called Trio maize. A few different colours in there and that. And to be honest, it looks really good. And given, you know, all the bites that I've had have been on yellow, it's not going to be a bad thing putting that out there. I just think it's going to attract more tufties though, banging a load of yellow bait out there. But that's how it is. I've still got enough boilie left to last me. In fact, I've just not long topped up that margin rod. Just pure boilie down there. I don't want to attract any bird life down there. And not only that, because I knew that, you know, I was running low on the particle, I wanted to save it for my banker rod. So yeah, that pretty much brings you up to speed. I will sit down and just sort of go through a bit of the information for you, a little bit about the lake, and not only that, I'll sort of show you my rigs and explain the reasons why I've done it and things like that, just for you guys watching that haven't been here, that are thinking of coming here and that. It's always good to put that little bit of information out there, you know, instead of coming blind. I mean, if anything, I did feel like coming here this time, I felt like I was coming partly blind, but obviously I had my first trip in the bank, you know, and I know that I had the bites on yellow last time, and I know that the particle helped me last time. But the only thing that I didn't know is where the fish was coming from. I didn't really see much on the walk round. And this was my first choice of swim because of the water it commands, you know. You've got a best of both worlds. You've got a bit of open water, you've got the channels that you can fish, there's also a bar out to the right that you can put one on, and then you've got the island, and then also, you know, in close in this bay if nobody goes in that bay. So it had left me with a lot of options. And I did see that, like, one fish hike out in open water out towards that dot island. It was enough for me, and I'm so glad I did, you know. I thoroughly enjoyed this session. It did my head in a little bit losing them two fish on the bounce yesterday, but hopefully we've hit that nail on the head now. we shall see. I was up this morning. After I sort of, what happened is I landed the fish, stuck the fish in retainer, got the rod back out there, baited up, and then I sat down and just whipped up a few more rigs before I did the pictures, because the light and that, I mean, the light wasn't great, to be honest, when I was doing the pictures, you know, especially doing it in the water like that. Couldn't really get a backdrop or anything like that, so I'd imagine the fish looks rather dark with a light background, but needs must, you know. You've got to get in the water. Some of these fish go ballistic when they're on the mat. It's like they haven't really caused me too much issues bringing them in. Fair enough, that big un did, you know. He really did. It wasn't like he was going berserk or anything, but he just found every weed bed on the way in. And yet the other two fish have just come in as good as gold, really, like a dog on a lead. But it's approaching that sort of time where Clive next door gets a bite. We're sort of coming up to around about 9 o'clock now. And he's been sort of baiting up around 9:30, 10 o'clock-ish and repositioning his rod. And then usually within half an hour or so, he gets a bite. So I'm very hopeful for him. I hope he does get another one. It's been good to see him boast his personal breasts, you know, with his couple of fish that he's had. I think he's had 3 fish now. Yeah. Oh, and my mate Ian, who just gave me the maize as well, he's had one this morning. He turned up yesterday and he's gone in the single party swim, which basically fishes the mouth of that bay there, and he's picked one up this morning, £29. I can't remember the ounces. It was a nice fish though, lovely fish. Went and did the pictures for him. It wasn't long after I'd slipped mine back. Got everything sorted out, and then went and sat and had a cup of tea with Clive, and then Ian come trotting over. I've got one. Yeah, really am enjoying it now. Just hope I don't lose another fish. You just never know what it is. You really don't. But it's been great. It's been phenomenal. You know, catching that fish, it is a fish of a lifetime. It really is. I have to keep pinching myself. I keep looking at the pictures, you know. It's still sinking in. It's going to be one that lasts for a while, that capture. And I'm back here again in October. Yeah. I think I'm not 100% on the stock, you know, but Ian, he's fished here quite a few times. He's a bit of a regular down here. He does a couple of times every year. And he was telling me he reckons there's around about 175 fish in here, give or take. And there's a few that sort of home breeds as well that have grown on in the lake. But he was telling me he reckons there's around about 40 fish over the £50 mark. And he said at the right time of year you've got a dozen or so 60s. That is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good old chunk of water, you know, 26 acres, 175 fish. They're never going to be crawling up your lines. And I suppose when you look at it, Clive's just shouted me, he's got another one. Yeah, alright mate. I'm going to have to leave it there. Clive's got one. I'm going to go and give him a hand. Anyway, I have been waffling on far too long. Hopefully, we get another chance as well. But let's go and have a look at this one that Clive's got. I'll go give him a hand. Bye for now. Well, good afternoon, and a few hours have passed now since I last spoke to you, and I have had my eyes on the water, and I must admit it looks absolutely prime out there. These conditions that we've got now, it's changed. It wasn't forecast. It was due to get a lot hotter today, but we've had a cloud cover remain, a good wind pushing across. And as we speak now, there's quite a few fish lumping out, albeit small fish and not in my water. There's a lot of fish showing in front of the beaches at the moment. I mean, I'm not too sure what them guys are doing over there, but you know, I'd be disappointed if I was them over there not having a fish. It must be quite frustrating for them. It must be, it really must, especially when they lost a fish as well. If that was me, it'd be doing my nutting. But anyway, that's what we're faced with. When Clive shouted me earlier, it wasn't him that had a fish. I thought it was. He shouted me to tell me that Ian had had another fish, a low 20, another nice clean fish. So I still did the pictures for him. Yeah, so well pleased for him. He's had 2 fish this morning, not bad at all to say. He turned up yesterday, he's rocked up, banged a couple of fish out this morning, and there's always a chance for him tomorrow morning as well, certainly for the way things looked. Unfortunately, Clive didn't manage to pick a fish up on his banker rod this morning. It could have a bit to do with, you know, Ian moving in that swim, sort of cutting him off a little bit. You never know, but then again, it could just be that the fish just haven't patrolled that area this morning. But for myself, you know, I'm a little bit disappointed I hadn't had anything off that bloodworm bed. I really am. I've got high hopes for that rod. But certainly the island rod, I'm sat waiting for the afternoon, you know, come sort of 5 o'clock time, between 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock, that, you know, it's always produced for me on both afternoons. And this is my last evening, so I want to make the most of it. I'm going to get everything sorted out. I have decided to put a little bit of bait down on that bloodworm bed, just because I've gone out there with the boilie approach. The rod's nearly been in 24 hours now, and I've not had a sniff on it, so I am going to pop a little bit of particle in over there. Well, I say particle, a bit of maize and that, and a little bit of hemp that I had left over. I'm going to pop a little bit of that over there. But my main priority is priming that island spot up. But anyway, whilst I'm here, I did mention about the rigs. Now, I've tied up, before I come, because obviously I fished here before and I had an inkling of what the lake's like. It's a very clear lake, this, and very, very weedy in places. There's a lot of Canadian weed out there, but as well you've got silkweed in places. You've also got a big kelp bed out there. I mean, I've stayed away from that kelp bed. The main reason I stayed away from that kelp bed is because there's been a lot of smaller fish showing out in that zone. And if anything, you know, coming to a lake like this, you want to try and target them bigger fish. But the main reason for choosing the hinge rig really is the anti-tangle properties more than anything. I knew that I was going to be chucking a bit of a distance in certain swims, so I just needed a rig that didn't tangle. And basically I just tied one of them long and one of them short. And what I mean by that is I mean the hinge section. I mean the boom itself, you know, it's the same on all the rigs. I've got an 8-inch boom there, that's the Skin Link in £25. It's a nice matte colour that, and it lends itself quite well to the lake bed that's out there. I mean, I'm fishing silt on one of the spots out towards that island. It is a gravel spot, and it's quite a forgiving spot. That well, it must be a known spot because it's quite a big area, good clearing. The coots work it constantly. It's only about 6 or 7 foot deep maximum over there. I'm just sort of gauging that from when the lead drops in. So yes, I tied them with 8-inch booms, and then the actual stiff section, I started off with a couple of inches long, and then a couple at an inch long. I tied 3 of each basically, and on the longer ones I used a size 5 hook. They've all got bait screws on them, but I used a size 5 hook, just so I had a bit of option there for a bigger pop-up or a smaller pop-up. and the actual bead, the tungsten knot bead that I've got on there, free with the large bead and free with the smaller bead. And to be honest, I've migrated over to the smaller, so I'm actually using the size 6s now. As I mentioned, after dropping them couple of fish, but in particular on the boom section, I'd already changed over to the small tungsten bead. I found that with the larger bead on, I was getting a couple of issues with tangling on the cast. I really didn't want that, but this, you know, I've not had one of these tangle on the cast yet. Bait screw again, and everything has migrated over to an inch high. Because I am fishing quite clear areas and silty areas out there, I've not had the need to sort of present in low line weed, let's put it that way, but I was prepared to do that. I know you can't see this properly, I'm just holding it up for demonstration purposes, but I will overlay some close-ups for you. So yeah, that was my starting point, and then obviously lead clip system. One of the part of the rules on here is you have to use tubing, and you must drop the lead. So lead clip system, tungsten tubing as well, also tungsten anti-tangle sleeves, and you know the skin link, it's quite a heavy material that, although it's not a tungsten link so to speak of, it does rest well on the bottom, it doesn't stick up or anything like that. So yes, that is my rig. I hope that sort of gives you a bit of an inkling of what's out there and, you know, what sort of rigs to use. I think, you know, a Ronnie rig would work really well in here, but then again, you know, if you can find a clear enough area to present a bottom bait, that'd really work as well. But one thing I will say is all the bites have come to yellow, not just for myself. Ian, you know, he started off on different colours. The first bite he had this morning was on a yellow, and then I said to him all my bites have been on yellow. He switched over and then straight away he had that other 20 pounder, so you know, it says a lot that. And Clive next door to me, although he's been fishing 20mm bottom baits, he has been tipping off with corn, a bit of fake corn on top, so there's still that element of yellow. But the one thing in particular, we've all been feeding a bit of particle and boilie, and that tends to be what's sort of been doing it for us. I can't vouch for the others that are around the lake, but you know, I said this morning I'm not too sure what else has been out. There's been no other fish caught for the group, so you know, we're doing all right over here. It can be a hard lake to crack this at times, and it sees many people off, it really does. But you know, you come here for them big fish, and like you say, you can have a trip of a lifetime, which is what happened for me. It really has. So yeah, I'm going to start getting the rod sorted, put a little bit of bait over that margin rod, redo it. I mean, I've got that other rod that's been sitting out at 11¼ wraps. It's not doing anything. If anything, I could take that out and feel it won't hinder me. I could put 2 out on the island, but I think what is the point in putting that much pressure over there? It's been working with just the one rod over there. And not only that, it is a bit of a tricky cast for myself, and it just means crashing more leads out there and crashing more spoms in to put a bit of extra bait, and that it just doesn't make me feel as confident. So I'm not really sure. I could put one out over towards that kelp bed, you know, and risk you know, possibly catching a couple of the smaller fish. But am I really that desperate? I don't think so. I think the main island rod and concentrate on that one, and possibly just sit on that one in that gully. You never know, it might be the one that just rattles off with a big one that's just, you know, sort of mingling on its own. You never know, sometimes them type of spots do that kind of thing. But you know, it's not going to hurt either way. But main thing is, let's get them rods sorted out, let's get sorted for this evening. The anticipation is killing me. I'm sort of wishing my life away to get to this afternoon. But one thing's for sure, I don't want to go home tomorrow. We've got to pack up nice and early. The other group comes on at 10, they get here at 9, they can have the walk round and that. So really, I need to be sort of organised and ready by about 9 o'clock in the morning with just the rods in. Will we get a bite in the morning? I'm not too sure. I think that fish this morning caught me off guard, if I'm honest. It's the first morning bite I've had. So yes, but certainly this afternoon, that is the one. So yeah, wish me luck, and I shall speak to you very soon. Well, it's not even bite time yet, and believe me, this one's caught me by surprise. The rod that's been sitting in that deep water doing absolutely nothing, it's just picked up from nowhere. And this is a right pretty one. Definitely the best looking one so far. And he's just gone £33.10. And it's still all to play for. Woohoo! And this one actually give a proper scrap, run me a right merry dance, and a proper bite as well. He is lovely. Mwah! Oh, lake of dreams this, lake of dreams. Oh, and that's his better side if you ask me. Absolutely pucker. Oh. That bait and that rig has been sitting out there for nearly 30 odd hours and then just out of nowhere. Mind boggling. Anyway, on to the next one. Well, good evening, and as you can see, the sun's just about setting over there, and we're coming to the back end of that window now. I've been putting this talking to the camera off, putting it off and putting it off, thinking please something materialise, but it feels very different out there at the moment. Usually by about this time I've seen the odd fish poke its head out, and I just haven't seen him out in front of me this afternoon. So I am very, very thankful for that bite I had earlier off that deep spot. Yes, I'm really pleased about that. But majority of the fish have definitely moved today. And a lot of fish showing out in front of the beaches area. That's right out over this area over here. Yes, and it does feel different. I mean, even over there at the moment, the fish have stopped showing. But, you know, I've still persevered. It was hard work getting that bait out earlier with that crosswind. I'm actually aching quite a bit, to be fair. You know, I've gone through 20 kilos of bait since I've been here. It's a lot of bait, that, and it's a lot of spomming with a medium spom. It's surprising how many you've got to put out there just to get out there. But, you know, it's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But all good things come to an end, don't they? And that's what I'm sitting here thinking now. The dream is just about to end. It's going to be a bit of a rush in the morning, having to... we'll have to be off by 10, so... bit of a rush. But I'm going to get my head down soon. I'm just going to carry on watching the water for as long as I can. And then turn in for the night. And hope that we get that one for the road, so to speak of. It still looks lovely out there though. I tell you something, every sunset has been brilliant on here. You really do get some good time lapses and good sunsets. Yeah, it's made it really enjoyable, and not only that, it's made it very enjoyable with the lads. You know, it is like a little social bank, this, really. 3 swims quite close together, and you know, we've all had tea together tonight and had a bit of a social. It's been really good experience. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Had a couple of visitors today as well. Martin's been down and congratulated me and confirmed that it is Marshall's. And then Mike popped down as well. They give me a bit of information actually about the fish and the stocking and things like that. And in their eyes, they don't see any reason why that fish couldn't be claimed as a record. But it's one of them, isn't it? There's a lot of mixed reviews and opinions on this place, and I don't think it's helped the situation with what happened with Captain Jack. I think if Captain Jack hadn't been put in at £39, things would have been looked upon differently, because most of the fish went in small, you know. But they are fast growing fish, and they are big chunks nonetheless. And fish which I don't mind catching, let's put it that way. Wrong 'un, big 'un, whatever you want to call them, I bloody love catching fish like that. I mean, the dream for me really when I set out for this trip, and the last time I come here, it was just to catch a 50-pounder. And I still yet to catch a 50-pounder. Oh dear. So yes, at least I've still got something to go for. But as we sit here now, it's Friday tomorrow, and my syndicate opens back up this weekend. So I am looking forward to a few sessions on Rosemere. Hopefully I will bump into Harris this season. Yes, he's on the hit list. I'd really love to be acquainted with that fish. I've come very, very close to having him. So yeah, I think I am going to leave it there. There's not much left to say apart from, come on the carp gods, one for the road please, thank you very much. Not being greedy at all, am I? No. Another thing as well, when Mike come round, he had a lap round the lake and he's been round to see all the lads. You know, it's not great news, I'll be honest. Everybody else hasn't caught a fish. Ian's caught, Clive's caught, I've caught, but unfortunately the other lads haven't had a chance. And I really do feel for them, especially them guys over in the beaches area with them fish showing and that. If I was over there and that was happening to me, it'd drive me berserk, it really would. So yes, I hope and pray that, you know, somebody else gets a decent one, a big one. I know Clive's, his session's made. Ian's been a little bit unfortunate just to have a couple of 20-pounders, but it's the way it is. I'd rather have a couple of 20-pounders than nothing, you know. When it sees many a people off this place, you generally find that on here you get like 2 or 3, you know, swims, or possibly 4 swims that catch fish, and the others end up struggling. So yeah, I mean, that's information from Ian really. He's done a lot more sessions down here than myself. You know, I come here with no expectations. Obviously I had a little bit of an inkling after having a session here last year. And yeah, when I come back in October, it's still all to play for, but it's going to be different conditions, you know, sort of leading into winter mode, as they say. And I'm sure that they're not going to be on them shallow spots, I'm sure of it. But we'll assess and we shall be back. So yes, there will be another video from this place from myself this year. So look forward to that one. But anyway, that is it. I am turning in. I'm going to finish watching that water, and I shall be having a catch up with you in the morning. If nothing carpy happens, I shall speak to you soon. Well, good morning, and would you look at that out there now. As the weatherman predicted, glorious sunshine today, high pressure. The high pressure did move in yesterday afternoon. That may have had a little bit to do with why the fishings took a turn. However, you know, it did feel totally different. I didn't see anything show out in the vicinity last night on them key times. But I'm not disappointed. It has been one hell of a trip. a fish of a lifetime. It's just been nothing short of exceptional, let's put it that way. It's going to take some beating, that, but I've still got plenty of targets to go at. In particular, Rosemere, I mentioned that opens back up this weekend, and I've got Harris to go for over there. I don't normally target a particular fish. I normally go to certain waters with a particular achievement in mind. You know, it's usually catching a number of fish or a couple of fish, or you know what I mean, that type of thing. But certainly Rosemere, I want Harris, so that's all to play for. A couple of special trips planned for this year as well, so keep your eyes peeled. My editing time is very limited at the moment, but I will do my very best to keep these videos coming for you. But for now, you know, it's not looking like anything's going to happen this morning. I got up properly at around about 6 o'clock this morning, looked out across the lake, and there wasn't much happening. I've seen the odd fish show, and the fish that I have seen show this morning have been right out in the open water in front of Party Point. So the fish have moved, but not only that, with the condition change as well. I mean, I will say we've had a really good weather front. We've felt really lucky with the weather front that we've been faced with. A low pressure and overcast most days. If anything, it was quite humid, but with the wind that we've had on, it's just made for some perfect fishing conditions for this time of year. So, you know, that's helped the fishing, and then just getting everything right, getting everything bang on. You know, I already had a bit of an inkling in my mind as to what I was going to do and use and things like that, but on the old bait front, you know, I did bring a lot of the baits separately, and you know, so I had a couple of different backup plans on the old baiting front. But as it turns out, you know, I ended up putting it out there all together, a big particle mix with the boilies and all that lot, you know, going for the buffet effect, I suppose I'm trying to say, and it really did work. I mean, I suppose last night that was another difference as well. You know, I run out of my main bait, and basically all I had left were boilies and a bit of maize what Ian gave me. I did pimp it up a little bit with the syrups, a bit of rock salt and things like that, but it just didn't have the same effect, you know. Would it have got me another bite if I'd have had a bit more bait left? I'm not so sure. I think the fishing, I think we had the best of it, you know, with this change in the weather. But yeah, what a trip, what a trip. This is just a dream come true. But I can't help but feel a little deflated this morning, not for not having another fish, but because the dream's coming to an end, you know. Packing up now, back to reality. It's straight back to the shop for me today, off straight to work from here. So yes, I think I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna get everything wrapped up and hit the road. I don't think anything else will happen, but the rods are going to be in for about another hour or so. But yes, until next time, it is goodbye from me, and it is goodbye from Holme Fen. So yes, if you like this kind of thing, don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate your support. See you on the next one.